Well, hello friends out there in YouTube land. Robert Ham here with Robert Ham Photography. Today, I'm sharing with you again how I do a photo booth. I want to show you what I'm taking and kind of explain to you some of the things that I use. And, you know, this is kind of important stuff for someone that might think about starting a photo booth business. Now, let's be very clear. I use a backdrop for my photo booths because I like to interact with my guests quite a bit. There are many different kinds of software that will use just a cell phone or a webcam tablet or something like that to take a picture. Some different software will even hook up an actual camera to it. And then the people can kind of monitor their own and go through. There's all kind of really cool stuff. In fact, I really like Darkroom Booth by Imaging Spectrum. That's a great photo booth software. It's very self-automated. They have core, they have all these different things. I don't use any of that. I use Lightroom, a computer, a nice printer, and get it all done myself. Generally speaking, I like to have two people working with me on the photo booth, and the other person is usually my son or my wife. It's real simple for that to happen. Robert is absolutely great, and lots of times I like to have him taking the pictures because he does a good job and people just really enjoy it. In any event, I'm going to share with you, you can see the table and some things that I use. First of all, let's keep it real. I do photo booths. Lots of times I do a photo booth. If it's not part of my actual wedding package or something, I do a photo booth because I enjoy it. Photo booths are high impact for the money, low responsibility. Show up with a couple of boas, take some pictures, and get out of there. That's pretty cool. That doesn't mean that you need to have a low production quality. You need to have high production quality. And for me, that means starting with a film strip that actually looks nice, okay? And so I don't like the 2x6. That's a small film strip. People are used to it. I wouldn't mind a 2x6, but I give a 2x8, and that's a big difference because it's a little bit more than two. It's two and a half inches wide. Yeah, that's right. It's 2.5 inches wide and 8 inches tall. It's a full 8x10 sheet that's just segmented with 4 strips, so 2.5 inches wide in between each. Now, I use the D&P DS80. We'll talk about that in a second, but I also make sure that I actually create a really nice graphic. I don't know that you guys can actually see that very well, and that's okay, but the bottom image is a pretty solid little graphic that I use for each one, and that's important because it really rounds off your photo booth. It rounds off the entire experience, which is nice. And then you have a nice big strip to take on home with you rather than these small little 2x6s or whatever. It's very small. And this is also a great size of image for people to cut out later and use, so it's pretty cool. Let's just get on to a second for that. First of all, I'm not going to go over what I have to do here. I use Photoshop to create my banner images down at the bottom. I create a template in Lightroom in order to apply to each image as a watermark. It does that to each one of them, and then it creates a texture. So I have some workarounds to be able to use Lightroom in order to create these photo strips so they look like you would expect a photo strip film pack to look, which is pretty cool. And because of using Lightroom, the final thing that you have to know is because these photo strips have 3 images on them, I actually need to import the banner several times into my active timeline so that I can then segment every 3rd image with the banner, and then another 3 images, then another banner. So when I go to print, the banner is in the right location. Otherwise, it won't work very well. So my workaround for not having to use software like Lightroom or like Darkroom Booth, which is around $300, or Darkroom for the next one up, which is like $450 or $499. I'm just not going to buy additional software when I can work around it in Lightroom, and all I have to do is be cognizant of my workflow in Lightroom. I can still print off a whole sheet of images in about 30 seconds. That's 4 photo strips in about 30 seconds. It's pretty cool, so I'm able to work very quickly. And that's why 2 people are very helpful, and that's why Robert actually taking the photos allows me to go ahead and set the prints up the way that I want them to. So good thing he does a good job at that. But let's actually talk about it. We're going to keep it real. See this backdrop back here? People pay a lot of money for these backdrops, but I don't. There's no reason to. It's not that I don't have boutique backdrops, and there's not a reason that I don't have backdrops that I pay for. But let's talk about how I create a backdrop. Realistically, these are bed sheets, mainstays, right? They're mainstays from Walmart. It's $11 for a queen bed sheet. You got them in every color under the rainbow with different designs. I like that because it allows me to very, very easily get a nice wide backdrop for about $30 right there. Now, the difference is if I was to buy a muslin, it would be stretched from side to side. And in this case, I want the ruffles. So why spend so much money on big backdrops that have to be 12 feet wide by 12 feet tall? Instead, just go ahead and spend $30 and get this. Notice I didn't even I didn't even have to do any clamps up at the top. Up at the top, if you can see it, there's already a lip on the top where the fabric is folded over. So I just cut a small slit at each end so I can run it through my rod, and boom, it's done. Now, if you think that's too bland, fine. Let me blow your socks off real quick. I put flash behind this. You understand? I'm going to get to that in a second. I put flash behind this and then fire the flash like a spotlight at the center of it with a gel. Now on this one, I will use blue, maybe white, maybe I'll just let it be white, and I put the flash on strong. Do you know what that'll do? That will create a spotlight backlit look from back here, and it'll make a natural vignette around the corners, and it'll spotlight the center. Of course, everyone's in the center. It's going to be arranged like this, and then there'll be a natural photo vignette with color right there, and I can use whatever color I want. That's great, and it looks awesome when you use colors like blue and red for holidays and stuff like that. It's really cool. So there's just one real quick walk around that I use that's awesome. Now let's talk about the printer real quick. I'm not going to get it out. It's 40 pounds. It's the D&P DS80. It's right there. If you're not using that for your photo booth, if you're using something similar, Hilti or Sony, that's great. Mitsubishi as well, that's awesome, but the D&P DS80 is the workhorse, rated over 100,000 prints, and this thing just goes and goes and goes. It's also got repairable parts like the drums and the pieces. You can move them out. They're all user repairable, which is pretty nice. So the point is, if you get one of these, they're around 12 or 1300 bucks. If you get one of them, you're going to have it for a long time. And if you get one refurbished like I did, I don't ever buy anything like this that has a service lifestyle brand new. I call up, I find out from the different companies what they have refurbished, factory warranty still on them, then I buy that, and if they have an extended warranty for a couple of years, I'll get that as well. That's a pro tip. Use it wisely. Photography is expensive, and if you pay all your money up front for stuff, you'll have less things to buy. The next thing that I go ahead and do is I make sure that I've got a handy dandy monitor. This is just a nice LG. This is a 19 or 20 inch monitor right here. It's going to allow me to use my Surface Pro 4 to connect both to the camera, tethering with the XT1, the printer, and then the actual TV itself. Right, and I will be able to print directly from there. Now, I just thought about this. Usually I tether using the wireless card, the iFi wireless card, but that's going to make it a little different because the Surface Pro 4 only has one USB port, which sucks. So tomorrow I'll have to go buy, I guess, or get a little USB adapter so I can plug in multiple things, because the printer will also run off of USB. So I'll write that down. Otherwise, I won't be able to tether directly. And the difference is, it's about 7 to 8 seconds to transfer a photo with the iFi card. It's about 5 to 6 seconds for a photo to transfer through the cord. So yeah, that's what I'll use. Let's talk about that for a second. The camera that I'm going to be using is the XT1 with the battery grip attached and a PC connection. If for some reason I choose not to and I just want to go with the Wi-Fi card, the iFi card, I will. I'm using the 35mm f2. That will allow me to get far enough back in order to have the background completely in my frame. And let's talk about that. Why do photo booth pictures suck usually? Here's why. Because the camera's too close to the background, or too far away from the background, or the background is too small. And that's important because if the people in the picture, if their perspective extends off of the background, then that's a very limiting thing. I use a 12-foot background. I stand my people 4 feet in front of the background, which means I'm good to get 5 men standing side to side. No more. If we want to stack a couple in front or a couple behind, fine, but there can be no more than 5 side to side. And the reason is quite simply this. The more I move to the left, the less I am on the actual picture or on the actual backdrop compared to your reference point, which is the camera. That's what we're going to see from. And so at some point in time, I'll be so far over towards the side that the actual person will be off the backdrop. That's no good. That's why backdrops suck and people have a problem with it. The next thing that people say is, Rob, come on, you can get 10 people in there if you did 5 by side, or if you want to get a 7 or 8 across if you just move them closer to the backdrop. Yeah, and I'll say, no. The minute you move closer to the backdrop, you make the backdrop become in focus because it's closer to your subject. You still want separation. See, these should still be portraits. They shouldn't suck just because they're photo booth. They should have some separation from the foreground to the background and your subject to the foreground and the background. So if you move your subject all the way back here, then they're just going to be in focus on it, and every little wrinkle that might be in there that doesn't fall out, every little fold is going to be in focus. We don't want that. We want there to be a slight blur. 4 feet in front gets you a good slight blur. In fact, what I do is I put some gaffer's tape down on the ground, put a little line of it straight across, and I put an X on each end of it and say no one can stand with their left or right foot off that X. It has to be on that X or inside, towards inboard. That's very important. So the lens that's going to be doing the work, like we talked about, is the 35mm f2. I will be using f2. I will set my flash sync speed to 1/180th of a second. I will set my aperture to f2. I will set my ISO to a base ISO that allows me to use my flash strobes, which I'll talk about in just a second, and then I will make sure that that is a correct picture. Once I take some test shots of my sun and everything is good to go, I will import that into Lightroom, like we talked about, and then I will create a custom preset for each photo. I will tag the folder with an import watch list so that the folder then automatically updates every image that comes into that folder on Lightroom so people can see it, so they can see them come in. But before they do, they will also update with the preset that I set based on the day. So I'm going to white balance and everything in camera, and when the image comes over, I'm going to edit an image, save that as a preset, and then apply that preset to all of them. Now, what about people with darker skin tones, right? That's going to affect exposure. People with lighter skin tones, darker skin tones, all of this stuff happens. So if you have a bunch of people with dark skin tones, there's going to be a different kind of reflection and remittance on there than if you have a bunch of people with lighter skin tones. So I will constantly be riding my flash up or down a stop or two based on what I see. That's on experience. I've shot thousands of portraits in photo booths like this and in front of backdrops. So I know what to look for, and I adjust my settings in order to make sure that my input is good. I will be riding the flash exposure between 1 power, 1/2 power, wherever I start. And in this instance, I will probably be using about 1/32 power on my side and rim light flash, about 1/16 power on my main light flash, and about 1/2 power on my background flash, and we're going to get into that right now. So flash and all that cool stuff talking about, let's see what we're going to use. We're using five wireless YN560 Series 4 flash. Now the great part is I'm telling you guys, don't spend thousands of dollars. You can get the SB800 or 910 for like 650 bucks, 599 bucks, something like this. What? That makes no sense to me. Great, I'm glad that it works with the light magic and all that other stuff, but why? If you just learned how to use flash, this was my thinking to myself. So if it applies to you, then hit it home. If not, disregard. Why spend that much money? If all I need to do to use a manual flash for $65, that is that is an excellent flash with Wi-Fi radios built in and triggers, the ability to control 3 different groups from here, 6 different groups from the transmitter on 16 different channels, and adjust the zoom of the flash head as well as its output directly. Oh my goodness. Remotely from this or from this. I can do it from either one. That's crazy. No high-speed sync, but I've got full stroboscopic capabilities, which is better than high-speed sync if you know how to use it. $65 compared to $650, 1/10. I could buy 10 of these for the price of one of those. And if half of them broke in the next 2 years, it wouldn't even matter. I could just replace them. But that's not the case. These things work very nicely. So my point is, don't spend so much money on flash. Get a manual YN560 TX or YN560 Series 4 flash. Learn how to use it, and then you won't need to spend 650 bucks. Now, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to use 5 of these flash. And let me share with you how I'm going to use them. Okay? I've got 2 light stands I'm going to be using. Now, I'm not going to do this. I've got to show you some other stuff real quick. The flash are going to go inside of a soft box and an umbrella. If you don't know what the umbrella does, I'll tell you. Shoot-through umbrellas cast quite a bit of light, and they allow you to light up a big scene, okay? So this is great. This is going to be rim light. It's going to go to my right. So as you're looking to your camera right here, and it's going to light up the background as well as some of the side of the actual person. It's going to be like this. Of course, it's going to be on a light stand, not thrown on the ground. And then we're going to have a softbox. Okay? And this is the Apollo medium. It's also going to be a light stand. It's going to be directly beside me over my left shoulder as I'm shooting or Robert's shooting, and it's going to be the main light right here. But it's also going to cast that light a little bit to the side. I'm not going to use the diffusion grid. I'm just going to use the diffusion panel, okay? And it's going to be shooting this way at a slight angle. So we got one that's coming directly to the side. We got one that's up high and coming down a little bit. This one's going to be about waist level, aimed slightly upwards. So we're going to get some fill light underneath. We're going to get some rim light on the side, and we're definitely going to get some good backlight over here on the background. And we want that, okay? And then this one's going to illuminate the face of everyone. It's going to be by me. I'm going to be about 12 feet away from everyone, maybe 10 feet, just depends. And that's going to be the case. Okay. Now, that's 2 flash. That's just 2. 1, 2. Where are the other ones going to go? One is going to, well, 2 are actually going to go behind here. They're going to go behind this, and they're going to shoot up at an angle right there, just like that. And they're going to shoot in order to create that vignette we talked about before. The last one is going to be on the ground, and it's going to be behind them shooting towards their back. And it's going to be on a wide spread. It's going to have the Gary Fong light sphere on it so that it can be gelled. This one's going to be gelled blue, right? And I'm going to have some accent lighting that comes from the back. The reason that this is important is that this background is gray. We're going to a formal event where people will be wearing some dark colors and some very bright colors. Some people will be in khakis or whatever. Some people might be in dress whites. I don't know. There'll be all different things. And what I'm going to need to do is have some light that rim lights everything directly with an accent color very well. And the reason the accent color is there is not because it's going to make us see anything better. It's going to illuminate the shadows better. That highlight color will kick in with the actual color of the shadows and help them retain detail. Now, Rob, you say, why is this important? It's a small image. It's 2 inches by 3 inches or something like that. It's actually 2.34 by 1.89. Why is this so important? It's important because all of these images are going to go in a gallery that people can download. They're going to be able to download them for free and print them off wherever they want as a gift to the military from me, because I like it, because I was a soldier and I understand. But also, some people may wish to purchase copies from me. In any event, they'll need a good image. So although it's anything, even slightly out of focus, even a lot out of focus, would be hard to tell in a very small image. The minute we start printing these at 8x10s, now image quality is king. Always, always go for the best image quality possible. The flash. We're going to use this trigger. We're going to have 3 separate groups using on this trigger. Well, maybe 4. 1 for here, 1 for here, 1 for there. I'll say 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so 4 separate groups. The 2 flash in the background are going to be on one group. The flash on the softbox is going to be on one group. The flash on the umbrella is another group. And the rim light flash from behind is going to be on another one. They both have to have good stuff. Okay, a backup camera. What if things go wrong with my X-T1? X Pro 1 is the backup. This is a great camera. It's going to do a good job. The backup lens is the 18 to 55. For whatever reason, if I need it, it's there. Never, ever show up without all the gear required to be the most successful. It's just that simple. How many minutes are we going on now? Well, it's counting down. I can't really tell. Whatever. Finally, because I'm going to be cutting these things out, I need to have a cut station. Now, that is one thing I wish I could change. I wish I was able to program the D&P DS80 after it did its full print on the 8x10 to actually cut in 2 inch by 4 inch sections. I wish I could do that. If I could do that, then it would save me from having to do this. So if there is anybody out there that knows how to do this, email me. It would be a great help to me. And since my videos help you, help me, help you, help me. help you. Another thing to keep in mind is I'm bringing my business cards. You got to have business cards. People are going to want to see your work. They're going to want to do this stuff with you. They're going to buy things from you. They're going to want to know where to get the images from. Do it. Make sure you've got it with you. Also, make sure you have double on all your cords. If for some reason that your cords don't work, make sure you've got a spare. Also, make sure you bring twice the amount of media that you need. In this small 4-hour event, I'm bringing enough pictures, media to print 1,200 photos. That would never happen. We'll struggle to print 400 in that same time just because of the workflow. Even if I had more printers going at one time, in this hour, about 25 to 30 people an hour is fast for a photo booth. And many people, when they hire a photo booth, are remiss when they find that out. They think it goes a lot faster, but it's not, because you're dealing with people. Even if they were taking the pictures themselves, they would then be stuck there with retake, take, retake, retake, take, retake, keep, print, is how it would go. So generally speaking, the average time someone spends in a photo booth is 2 minutes. That's it. Now, the average time that it's going to take to print is about another minute for all of those strips to print. So there's 3 minutes per couple, right? So that's about 20 couples within 1 hour, or 20 groups within 1 hour. I do about 25. I'm moving fast. You see what I'm saying? I think that's it for right now. I'm going to go ahead and close this off. Make sure you've got good props, okay? Don't give them, it's okay to have it's okay to have props that fit the event, that are bought like just on the stick hats, and you hold those things. Those look great. But you want good physical props as well. You want bright colors, okay? Really bright colors, because you want these things to shine and shimmer. If this was a more formal kind of photo booth, it would be different. But in this event, we got everything from swords to pirates hats to gold hats to Captain America shields to boas to devil ears and devil tails and fairy wings and stuff like that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Guys, I hope that you found this helpful. I'm Robert Ham with Robert Ham Photography. You can catch me over on Twitter at RobHamPhoto. Find me on Instagram at RobHamPhoto as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe, not just here on YouTube, but also over on Facebook. I want to thank you for watching and remind you that I will catch you on the flip side.